Hi, this is Miss Litton, and this is my wonderful Period 1 APBio class. Say hi.
Hi.
And we are discussing Chapter 37, Neuron and the Nervous System. I want to start off small, kind of look at those same organisms we always had, and kind of look at the evolution of a nervous system. So let's start with somebody who doesn't have any, and that would be sponges. And the sponges are only at the cellular level of organization. Let's go over levels of organization. It goes what? Atoms, molecules, organelles, cells, and this is where life starts. Tissues, organs, organ systems, organisms, population, community, ecosystem, biosphere. Good. They are only considered at the cellular level of organization. They're not even up to tissues. They're just a group of cells all living together, okay? And yet they can respond. So cellular level of organization, no nervous system, but cells can respond to their environment and communicate with each other. And what did I put in parentheses there? Maybe they're using ions to do it, okay? Then let's go a step up from that, and we're going to look at a nerve net. And these are organisms that are at the tissue level, and that's a hydra. We have seen him before. Also, any kind of cnidarian, like a sea anemone and a jellyfish, that range. Hydra, they have a nerve net. Now, your more advanced jellyfish, they will have like a ring that kind of helps so that they contract at the same time, you know, as they're moving through the water. And then let's go up again, somebody you have seen many times, and that's a planaria. And here you're starting to see the beginnings of cephalization. Cephalization is the beginnings of a brain of some sort, and your brain is just a batch of neurons all together processing. So it's the beginnings of that. They do not have a single dorsal tubule nerve cord like we have. They have two. So underneath planarian, paired nerve cords with transverse nerves. That's called a what? Starts with an L. Ladder. Do you see how it looks like a ladder? So if you have two, do you see how that's not as centralized as just having one? Okay? And then it's the beginnings of cephalization. I can spell that for you. C-E-P-H-A-L-ization. Do I have that on the board somewhere? No, I don't. Cephalization. Okay? Moving up again. Having a central brain, and then we're going to be talking about this more, having a central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. What are the two components of your central nervous system? Brain and spinal cord. Anything outside your brain and spinal cord for you and I is our peripheral nervous system. We have 12 pairs of nerves coming off of our brain and 31 pairs of nerves coming off our spinal cord. All of our nerves coming off our brain and spinal cord, that's peripheral. Central is brain and spinal cord. You can see that's starting to happen right here. We've got an earthworm has a CNS and PNS. Yeah, make sure you get that right. Issue solved. PNS. Capital CNS, capital PNS. With a ventral solid nerve cord. With a ventral solid nerve cord. Sounds like penis. Oh shoot, I forgot. And then crab have larger ganglia. Ganglia are groups of cell bodies. It's where they hang out. You have ganglia running along your spinal cord, little groups of cell bodies. Where you have cell bodies together, you have each of those cell bodies has a nucleus in it. You have more processing that can take place. Okay, and then let's bring it up to the man, naked man with the cap. I gave him shorts. Yeah, I locked his shorts on there because his junk was all out. Okay, so, oh, I forgot to talk about the squid. Let me go back. Uno momento. There's a squid in the top left-hand corner. Larger brain and nerve fibers. Larger brain and nerve fibers for control of rapid muscle movement. Larger brain and nerve fibers for control of rapid muscle movement. So now moving it up to the vertebrate nervous system. I don't know what my side note is. Oh, okay, we'll come back to that in just a minute. Okay, so Neurons are nerve cells. Neurons are nerve cells. There are more neurons. How many neurons in an insect? A million. Can equal as much as 1,000 more depending on the insect. But humans, you ready? 11 billion. 11 billion. And look where those 11 billion are. Just in the what? Cerebral cortex. Okay? Blue, explain this right here. Blue, explain the side note. Why do we have paired nerves? Why did I say you had 12 pairs from your brain and 31 pairs coming out of your spinal cord? Left and right. Bilateral symmetry, baby. Good job. Okay, that's why we have paired nerves. All right. Now, let's look at some brain organization. Now, what's going on? If you look, and if you've read ahead to the notes I've given you, you do not have to memorize anymore every single component of the brain. However, you need to have a working knowledge of some to use as examples. Hear me. There are 3 systems you have to know cold. What are the 3 systems you have to know? Nervous, endocrine, and what one? Immune. Okay. Have we already talked about the immune system? Yes. Have we introduced the endocrine system? Yes. But this is the nervous system. This chapter is a must. Okay. So the more you understand and know and love of it, the better off you're going to be. This is the time, this is why that ed puzzle, I really spent some time on that to get you to walk you through that 17 minutes and 54 seconds of fun, okay, which I know took you longer in order to answer it, okay, because this is one you have to have a really good working knowledge of. So let's talk about forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Your hindbrain, look at your hindbrain first of all. Look at something in your hindbrain you've already been introduced to. Medulla oblongata. What do we know the medulla oblongata is about?
Controls your breathing.
Heartbeat, breathing. Does that sound fairly important?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Okay? This is your old ancient brain. This is your, like what I talked to you about, lizard brain, and I always tell you, think with your large mammalian brain, you know, consequences. Don't think with your lizard brain. Lizard brain's all concerned about with like sex and pleasure and fear. Drugs impact that system, right? I don't want you to work out of the lower brain. I want your large mammalian brain involved. Okay? Your hindbrain here, this is your you know, old, it's got your pons, medulla oblongata, it's got your cerebellum. We're going to learn about cerebellum, is about balance and things like this. This is unconscious activity, heart, lungs. So if you go on your notes, go to hindbrain, it says most ancient, autonomic functions. Now, let me teach you a word right now. It comes up later. There's autonomic and somatic. What do you hear in autonomic? Automatic. You don't have to think about it. Somatic is this, choice. Okay? Yeah, you missed that. It was awesome. But autonomic, you don't have to think about. So most ancient autonomic functions and coordination of movement and balance. Coordination of movement and balance. Tell your bio buddy, how is your balance? Good? You trip over things? All right. Yeah, I can trip. I can fall. It's my big feet. All right. Come back to me. Okay? Now, our midbrain right here, midbrain, okay? This is your relay station. I don't see this as being a difficult thing because it's right in the middle. So send things to the right places. So your midbrain, you have your optic lobes. Now, optic lobes are actually, occipital lobe is in the very back. Now, you could be blind for a couple of reasons, okay? I could, like, take a pencil and jam her in the eye. And she could be blind because her receptors aren't working. Or I could take a bat and beat her on the back of her head right here. And she could be blind not because her eyes have any problem, but her place where she what? Processes that information could have a problem. Okay? So that's where your occipital lobe is actually back here. Okay? I love Tristan. Okay. Forebrain. Forebrain is here in the front. Your cerebrum, your thalamus, your hypothalamus. Look what this is in charge of. This is memory, learning, thought. Could you live without this? Yeah, you could. You'd be a vegetable, but you could live, right? There are people who have walked into emergency rooms with objects penetrating their cerebrum right here, and they're still walking around, you know, like, okay? So you can still, you may not do well, but you could, okay? Your forebrain, though, includes your thalamus and your hypothalamus. This is really important, though, because what is the hypothalamus is what's the pituitary gland, the master gland, drops out of the hypothalamus. And this is where the nervous system and the endocrine system overlap between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Regulating temperature, reproduction, eating, sleeping, emotions are all right through there. So on your forebrain, I have processing sensory information. I have hypothalamus and homeostasis. Processing sensory information, hypothalamus, and homeostasis. All right, nervous system organization. Take a look at this picture. It's a great one, okay? At the very top, in pinkish orange, do you see where it says central nervous system? What are the two components of your central nervous system? Brain and spinal cord. Okay, can I get all eyes up front? Okay, all eyes up front. Brain and spinal cord. Everything outside of your brain and your spinal cord in yellow here is your peripheral nervous system. Okay, now let's get our bearings. We have cranial nerves and we have what? Spinal. Okay, we have 12 pairs of cranial. We have 31 pairs of spinal. Let me tell you, categories of nerves. Nerves are just groups of usually long axons, that part of the neuron. Remember that part? Okay. Now, those nerves, they can be dedicated sensory, where they're only going towards the central nervous system. Dedicated motor, going away to an effector. You have two kinds of effectors only, muscles or glands, right? Glands either going to secrete more or less, and muscles either going to contract or not contract, right? That's how you respond to the world, with muscles and glands. Think about it. 100% of your response, muscles and glands, okay? So sensory go towards the central nervous system, motor go away. Mixed nerves have both sensory and motor fibers in them. The 31 pairs of your cranial nerves are all mixed. Okay? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Back up, don't type that. I can see you're typing fast. The 31 pairs, coming off, the 31 was right. The 31 coming off your spine, what did I say, cranium, right? So 31 coming off your spine are all mixed. The ones going into your cranium, those 12, some are sensory, some are motor, and some are mixed. Okay? But the ones off your spine are all mixed. So now let's look at the next thing down. Sensory goes towards, right? Sensory is going to go towards your central nervous system. And motor fibers are going to go away. Now look at these two things, somatic and autonomic. Do you know the difference between those two? Somatic is all about what? Choice, skeletal muscles. Autonomic you don't have to think about. Autonomic is broken down into two categories, right? Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic nerves are about things like fight and flight, like what adrenaline is about. It's making your heart beat faster. It's making your eyes dilate. It's making your lungs take a bigger breath. Those are your sympathetic. Your parasympathetic is chill and relax. Okay? So you have things, if you're going to go play a soccer game, it's going to be sympathetic. While you're playing that soccer game, you want your heart to beat faster, right? When you're done playing the soccer game, then it's parasympathetic. Which one do you think is about digesting your food? Sympathetic or parasympathetic? Parasympathetic. Right? Slow, relax, that's when you eat. Right? So that's why they say before you don't what before you go swimming? Eat. How long before?
30 minutes.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is while you're swimming and doing activities, you're going to shunt blood away from that to go to your skeletal muscles to keep you from drowning. Because swimming is just avoiding drowning. Right? That's all swimming is, just avoiding drowning. Okay? Walking is avoiding falling. Right? When you walk, it's like, I'm going to fall. Oh, no. Psych. I caught myself. Oh, I caught myself. Except when I was getting out of the golf cart for a little bit, and I fell right to the ground and then rolled a little bit. You would have loved it. Saturday. It's awesome. Super excited about that moment. It's really, really good. All right. Moving on. And I have a game for you, so we got to get to it. Central nervous system is brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is all the nerve and ganglia that lie outside of the central nervous system. The mammalian nervous system, neocortex, it's the forebrain, is greatly enlarged by the outer layer called the neocortex. The neocortex, the outer layer, higher mental functions, spatial reasoning, conscious thought, and language. Variations in the number of crevices and folds. Think about it. The more folds I have, the more what I have. Perfect. Variations in the number of crevices and folds within the mammal species. This can greatly increase surface area. Surface area and connections. Surface area and connections that could possibly allow for higher mental activities. Surface area and connections that could possibly allow for higher mental activities.
Whoa.
What is going on? Make sure I have this here. Okay. All right, so now this is a little matching game, and you get to play it independently. It's going to come up on your screen, and you need to match the what do you call it? Shield to protect yourself from the fireball.
This is so cute.
I'm surprised there's not sound. There should be things going on right now, sound going on. And you want to match all these? I'm going to pause.